Today, my guest is Maria Frank. She is the marketing director and director of marketing and innovation at Baton Rouge Grill House and Bar. It's part of the MTY group. Maria, thank you very much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
So let's start here. There's obviously something very special about this brand and this organization. Back in 2013, you started as a brand coordinator, then you did some advisory for them, then became the marketing manager. And now for the last 5.5 years, you've been leading the marketing function as the director. What is it about this brand that continues to obviously fill your cup and keep you there and keep you engaged?
So I guess a lot of things. Firstly, I truly really enjoy marketing and advertising, and of course, innovation. So definitely my passions have aligned with this specific position. But if we talk more specifically about the brand, I think the franchisees are something that really motivate me, even though sometimes or oftentimes we don't really see eye to eye on a lot of things. They still really motivate me, and they're an overall very enjoyable group of people to work with, to exchange with, to share ideas with, and most importantly, to see the brand grow with them and to grow their business together hand in hand. I think there's also so much that could be done with this brand. So it's just every day is exciting. We challenge the status quo. We try to do things a little bit differently. Obviously, being that we're a chain brand, it's a little bit harder to be ultra creative, but we try to push the envelope as much as possible within a chain setting.
That's cool. That's great. And for those that don't know Baton Rouge, give us a little bit of an understanding of the concept.
So basically, it's a grill house and bar. What does that mean? We're mainly very meat centered. About 50% of our sales mix is meat, mainly being ribs, which is our signature. It's something that has been served from the beginning. It's a signature product. It's an item that a lot of our guests keep coming back for. The other part of our menu is, of course, you can find seafood, you can find some pasta. Within it, though, we do have a lot of legendary dishes, like, for example, our chicken tenders or our Louisiana chicken salad. If you're a Baton Rouge customer, for sure that would be something that you probably tried or you've definitely seen on the menu. But there's really a lot of signature items that can be found on our menu across all of our locations.
For those that have not been there but are in the area where there is a Baton Rouge, you must go. I've been once, and it was much better than I thought. I didn't have a lot of expectations coming in, but everything from the environment, from the service staff, and the food was amazing. So easier to lead a marketing function when the product is good, I'd imagine.
Definitely. And when you believe in it, for sure.
When you believe in it, that's right.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about we all have our understanding of what a director of marketing does generally, but how do you see your mandate? What do you understand your role and your mission to be within the organization?
So I think one of the most important parts of my role is managing the franchisee's money, because each franchisee, each location contributes to the advertising fund, which I basically manage and I oversee. So I think that's one of the most crucial parts about my role, because I'm literally taking money from the franchisees and I'm investing it in advertising. And for those of you who understand marketing a little bit, understand that advertising sometimes is a little bit of a gamble. It's not necessarily a mathematical formula. Sometimes you try things that don't work. Sometimes you try things on a whim that have the best success. So I think, balancing those things and making sure that the money is well spent while, building sales and traffic and brand awareness and all that stuff. That's probably one of the most crucial parts about my role. But aside from that, I mean, of course, being able to try different creative advertising strategies, overseeing the brand image from the top, of course, helping innovate the menu. That's a big one. I do that hand in hand with our corporate chef. And that's probably one of the funnest parts about my job, when we get to travel and go to restaurants and get inspiration and together find the next signature item on our menu.
Yeah, I thought that was really unique when we were first chatting. Not every marketing director has as much hands-on impact to the actual product that goes to market. In this case, obviously food, that makes sense. But for you, is that a critical component of the marketing mix, is not just what you're doing to attract guests, but actually having your thumbprint in some degree on the actual thing that goes to market.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I remember the first time that, we figured out the next dish together and we started seeing the success. I remember feeling such a great sense of pride that, it's like that's me behind it or that's
Yeah.
us behind it. And it's really something being able to see it in a menu that's given to, thousands and thousands of guests in, 30 locations across the country. So it's very fulfilling. And I think it's also a place where I'm able to stretch my creative muscles a little bit and take a dish, get inspired, and then together with the chef figure it out, how can we make this very Baton Rouge, or how can we make sure that this is something that our core guest at Baton Rouge would come for, but also something that a guest who's never walked in through our doors would love to come and try.
Right. As the marketing director with Baton Rouge, you're in an interesting scenario where when it comes to stakeholders that you need to educate, bring into the loop, in some cases get buy-in on, you're in an interesting spot because on one hand there's, the let's just call it the C-suite or the owners or whatever. And then on the other side, there's the franchisee network. So it's an interesting spot. You're kind of in the middle there. How do you facilitate getting buy-in, understanding, collaboration between two of those both of those parties, and how do they differ from one another for you?
I think a big part of that is data. If you strongly believe in something and you have the data to support that belief or to support that strategy, that's always something that data, is undisputable. So that's something that I leverage when I can. The truth of the matter is I can't always leverage data because sometimes there's decisions or strategies that are based off of, I don't want to say a feeling because that's extremely ambiguous, but more or less sometimes it's based on a trend or a feeling or just sort of knowing the brand and being a part of the brand for 10 years and just feeling like that specific idea or that specific strategy would definitely work for the network. I think also a big part of buy-in is a successful track record. If things have been progressing well and the most part of decisions that have been taken about the brand were done and the results were positive, I think that's an easy way to pitch or to sell an idea.
Mhm.
So that's something that, I would perhaps rely on if I didn't have the data to support the decision that I want to go with.
Yeah.
I hope that makes sense and I hope that
No,
answers.
totally. I just think with so many relationships that you need to invest in and nurture, and then in addition to that, lead your team and lead the marketing function, it's no small task. How have you approached building and nurturing relationships with franchisees? These are people who are business owners that are, invested in the brand as kind of in some cases, fulfilling a dream that they had. They're very passionate about it. They want to feel in control to some degree, but then you need to keep control to keep brand. I go on and on, but how do you facilitate good relationship building with that network of franchisees?
It's funny because sometimes my team and I talk about certain things that we do, and we often ask ourselves or ask each other, who are we marketing to? Are we marketing to, prospective guests, or are we actually marketing to our franchisees where we need to get buy-in from? So it's a fun little balancing act.
Yeah.
But I think just generally nurturing relationships with franchisees. What does that mean? Taking time to meet with them in their location, discussing their business, not just the brand, but their business, because they have a business within a brand, and it's important to understand their reality, their surrounding community, and their guest profile as well. So just taking the time to connect with them, to visit them, the entire team actually takes the time and goes to our locations across the country to take the time to really meet with the franchisees and talk to them. Another thing we do is that we have a franchisee advisory committee that's purpose is really to discuss how is the marketing money being spent.
Mhm.
So that's a way to get their direct buy-in to what's happening and their understanding to what's happening with our marketing strategies, to what's going on with the budget, to what's going on with the reality of the economy, and how are we balancing all those elements together.
Right.
So those two things allow us for a lot of face time with the franchisees, which in turn builds those relationships
Yeah.
and then helps when we're trying to launch something that would perhaps be a little out of the box or a little bit risky for the brand itself.
Right. There's some trust that you've built there, and they'll some trust equity. For you, what do you rely on as being your superpower as a marketing leader?
My superpower. My God, I wish someone else would be answering that question for me because whatever I
Well,
say,
what might others say about Maria that, this is Maria's superpower?
I'm very decisive. I just if an idea is presented to me and I feel a certain way, it's easy for me to just say, okay, let's do it, let's try it.
Hmm,
So I think that really helps with advancing projects. Let's say within the marketing team, if one of them has an idea of something very different, I usually when it's presented and I'm feeling it, it's like, okay, let's go, let's do this. Let's not
right,
waste any time. So I think that's something that really helps because we know marketing and especially in a world of such a heavy digital presence, things and if you want to be a successful brand, it's not just the ideas or the strategies that you do or you launch, it's also the speed at which you're propelling them.
right.
So if you're not decisive as a marketing leader or director, then you may be missing on opportunities and you might not be running at that speed that would allow you to be in a different category as a brand.
I love it.
So I think that's an important one. I would also say innovation. Innovation is truly my passion. Just seeing the brand innovate, seeing the food innovate, the menu, how we do things, that's really something that it's kind of like my why every day and
Right.
why I do this. So, and I think I have a knack for sort of looking or finding those that menu item that would work or that would be the next success.
That's really cool. Is there anything in you, and it may be just so ingrained into you how you operate, but is there anything that comes top of mind that allows you to make those decisions really quickly? Is it a gut feel, or do you do a quick analysis on this and that? Like, I'm always interested to understand more about how and why people can be decisive.
I think it's a few things. I think to be fair, I've been with the brand for a long time. I've been with the brand for 10 years. So it's sort of become second nature in some ways.
Right.
Also, just being in the know of what's happening, reading different articles on the restaurant industry or food innovation, and coming across certain things, even, on social media, that allows you to be in tune with what's happening. What do people want? What are they looking for? What's the next big thing? So that helps a lot because if something comes my way and let's say I've read about something of a trend that fits into this, then it's an easy automatic.
Right.
But I think it's those two things in line, like just having the brand instinct, if you will,
Right.
and then also understanding what's happening in the restaurant industry. That's an
Right.
important one.
That's great. What's an area that you would be willing to admit is a weakness for you as a marketing leader? An area that you're excited about growing into and evolving within?
I would say that I have a very low tolerance for incompetence.
Yep.
I know that may come off as rough, and I don't mean it in a negative way. I mean it more, I think I just have a certain standard of how I work and how I want to see the brand work. And I have
Mhm.
a certain standard of where the brand should be. And it's something that's very hard for me to digest when I feel like we're not all going towards that certain standard.
Right.
And
Well,
it's all for the brand. It's all to make sure that the brand
yeah,
can be the greatest it could be.
like it. I don't think that's a weakness. I mean, maybe the way it gets articulated could be, but I think it's a strong thing. Knowing what you want for the brand, respecting the brand and the people that make it up, and setting that standard that everyone can endeavor to hit and exceed. I think that that's great. Um, Maria, when you're closing your laptop for the day or maybe driving home, how do you know that you did a good job or not? Is there anything that you've been able to establish? Maybe it's a gut feel, maybe it's more formal in the form of reports, but how do you know personally that you did a good job or made impact on any given day?
I think a few things. Number one, I think if a franchisee were to call, message, or email myself or anyone on the team with a simple thank you, I think that's a sure way of knowing that, okay, I did a great job today. We did a great job today. I think also seeing positive feedback from customers and guests on social media or through our surveys or wherever, I think that's another way of knowing that a job was well done. tying it into menu innovation. If I see a new menu item that's getting an overwhelming amount of buzz and positivity, then that's a way that I'll definitely know, like, okay, this was a good day, job complete, mission accomplished.
That's great. Is there an area of your marketing mix that you would consider to be, let's just say, weak, and that you would love to see dramatic transformation or improvement in? And then I'll ask a follow-up on the positive side.
Uh, yes, definitely. I think in a world where there's so much going on and especially with digital, there's so many opportunities to gather data and to understand customers and website visitors or social media followers so much better. I think that's a place where, as a marketer in general, in any field, in any industry, can gather more information on that customer that we want to market to, that we want to advertise to. But obviously, not only is there limitations from a legal perspective, but it's also a difficult journey to really peg and to really gather the most information possible from that customer who's going through that journey into the brand and visiting our various platforms and social media channels.
Right. So you're saying leveraging data to create a more personalized market message approach, et cetera.
Exactly.
Tell me a little bit about your team. What does the team look like specifically within the marketing function?
So specifically marketing, it's myself and two others, the digital specialist, who's everything digital from social media to newsletter to websites.
Mhm.
And then we have our marketing specialist who's more focused on local store marketing.
Okay.
And she's the one who really takes the time to visit our franchisees, understand their markets, understand their needs, understand their community initiatives, and who will help them create a tailored marketing plan for their community within the parameters of the brand. We're also actually getting an intern this summer, so that will be fun.
Yeah.
And the intern is a university student. So one of her biggest mandates will be, how do we make sure that Baton Rouge is relevant and attractive to Gen Z?
Right. Have you done the internship thing before?
Yeah, we've done it a few times actually.
Yeah, I think that's a great opportunity to, be a part of somebody's career journey. And do you think at all about, there's the mandate for this person, but do you also consider it a responsibility to make it a meaningful experience for them where they can grow? And what things do you put in place that allow it to be a real meaningful experience? This is a university student who's going to go out into the market. How do you want to contribute to that person's growth?
Yeah, it's a great question. So actually, just to back it up, the way that we found this intern is a few months ago we went to a university in Montreal where a bunch of students pitched to us marketing ideas about the brand.
Cool.
And there was one group that, I think it was the second group that did their pitch to us, and I felt so bad for them because the first pitch was so well done that this group's pitch wasn't the greatest. You can tell they were like a little unprepared. Their statistics and data didn't really make much sense. But there was one person in that group that I found was so articulate, and just the way she spoke, she actually kind of reminded me of myself. And I remember we finished up the presentations, and the university had asked us to choose a specific person to who that they can give like an award to. So we chose her. And then I think a few days later, she reached out and she asked if she can be an intern on the team.
Good for her.
Yeah. And it just felt like a little like serendipitous.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm excited to have her on board because I not only do I think she has a lot of potential and she's smart and she's like at such a pivotal point in her career, but I think she can do a lot of great things for the brand because her passion is definitely there.
Very cool. I love that. It's actually how I started my agency 12 years ago. It was a like a competition that was set up by a local business. I was doing my MBA and we were part of the group that won. I'm not sure if I would have won the star award like this girl, but that is a meaningful experience and good for you guys for doing that. It brings me to my next question, which is actually a question that was left for you by my previous guest. And just as a heads up at the end, I'd like you to pose a question to my next guest. But the question that she left for you is, how do you practice the activity or way of leading, of getting out of the way of others on your team and rising them to, the spotlight, or getting out of their way so they can be their most impactful? How do you approach that?
That's a good question. And that's a tough one. That I think that's tough for
Mm,
any ambitious leader, because the thing is with being a leader or a director or just having a team is you're always stuck in a place where you want to get the job done. Obviously, you want to get it, you want to get it well done, of course. But then you also have, you want to inspire your team, and you want to make sure that they're the best versions of themselves and they're
yeah.
bringing their best foot forward, and you want to make sure that they're comfortable to do what they're supposed to do. But sometimes as a leader, especially if you've been in a company or in a brand for a long time, you kind of in a way feel like you always have the answer, if I can
Right.
say that. So sometimes just like, keeping your mouth shut is a struggle in itself. But I think, sometimes it's just about sitting back and just allowing them to answer and just saying, well, what do you think? Go ahead.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
just not talking and observing. And, sometimes the answer is great and it's what it's supposed to be. And then sometimes it's not. And it's about balancing. Like, do you say it in a group setting? Do you do it in a one-on-one? How do you address that? But I don't know. I think sometimes it's just like sitting back and having faith in your team and also allowing them to make mistakes. It's okay to make a mistake. Like, if you're not making a mistake, you're definitely doing something wrong. So making those mistakes builds character. It also, it like, you'll know for next time. And it's part of the learning process because, work is still a learning process in itself. And yeah, I hope that
Yeah.
answers the question.
No, totally. Yeah, it's such a huge challenge when you feel like you know the answer based on experience and you've seen this scenario 15 times before, but what a skill it is to be able to just not say anything and use it as a learning opportunity. Um, so I have one more question for you, and then after that, my last question is going to be to ask you to pose a question for my next guest. But before that, what does growth and evolution look like for you in the next year or two? What's one area as a marketing leader that you are excited about and keen on growing, evolving, strengthening?
I think I would have to say how to use AI in marketing and advertising.
Yeah, that's the big
It,
one,
it's a
isn't it?
s- it's a scary thought, but I do believe that AI is going to be such a big part of everyone's life that if you resist it, it's going to be the equivalent of, like resisting computers or the internet years and years ago.
Yeah,
So how do you basically use AI effectively within a marketing and an advertising lens?
yeah. Well, it's exciting because we're all figuring it out together right now. Well, some are, and some are choosing to ignore it. But like you said, it's not an if, but when, and it's really
Exactly.
now, and it's really now, right?
Yeah.
Anything that you would like to ask my next guest? So obviously, my next guest and all guests are marketing leaders. They have lean internal marketing teams, and they're just trying to figure out the way to play this game. They have their own approach of doing it, but always looking for growth.
The question I'm always curious to ask anyone in marketing or advertising is, it may sound like a very basic question, but I think the answer can be more complex than the question seems. My question would be, where do you draw inspiration from?
Love it. Where do you draw inspiration from?
Well, that's it, because that's the thing, for after a certain amount of time when you're in marketing and advertising, you feel like you've seen it all, you almost feel like you've done it all.
Right.
And that's not a good place to be, because it's such a it's there's a lot of creativity that's required in this role. And I think that's a wonderful thing, because there's the most jobs out there are not, they don't, there's no need for creativity.
Mm,
And we're lucky enough to be in a place in marketing where, it's sort of an extension of yourself. You're able to have creative flows and energy. And that's really wonderful. But, you have to always keep it alive and fresh. And, sometimes if you're in a certain state of mind, or if you're bogged down by a lot of administrative work, it's hard to feel inspired all the time. But I think for myself, I would say travel is a big source of inspiration. And I know that may sound cliche, but just getting out of your surroundings. I don't necessarily mean travel to the other side of the world.
Right.
I mean travel outside of your city, travel outside of your comfort zone, just seeing a different part than the city that you're typically in on a daily basis. And sometimes just changing up your routine. Sometimes just taking your laptop and working somewhere else could be inspiring in itself. But specifically for the brand for work, I know that every time I have the opportunity to travel, whether it's for a conference, whether it's just to do R&D, culinary R&D, I know that I always come back and I feel so inspired and I have so many ideas
Yeah.
and the creativity just feels like it's endlessly flowing.
Yeah. Well, that's I think that's great. I actually haven't heard that before, but totally. I think of myself when I feel in a bit of a rut, change your physical location and open your exposure a little bit. I love it. Maria, thank you for giving us a peek into how you're playing the game of being a marketing leader. We all know that there's more than one way to play that game, and I think the way you're doing it is really great. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you.